Welcome back, Captains, to another episode of Starfleet Academy Online. I'm your host and instructor, Hale Bohse, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about energy type. All right, so energy type. This is something that is heavily discussed when it comes to different types of shipbuilding, and one of the things that it seems like it might be common sense, but it's not. Especially for a lot of new players, about unifying their energy type in game. And what do I mean by energy type? Well, when we're using starship weapons of any sort, or even weapons on the ground, you're going to be using a particular energy type. Now, that could be something like phasers, disruptors, chronoton, it could be antiproton, it could be tetryon, it could be polaron, it could be all kinds of different things, okay? And so what are those things, and what why does it make a difference which ones I use? Shouldn't I just be looking at the DPS on each individual weapon to decide what to put onto my ship? The answer is no, not at all. And let me explain why. And it's gonna become apparent why in a moment. So when you're looking at energy type and which energy type to use, in my opinion, some of the most effective ones right now are plasma, disruptor, and phaser. Those three in particular are highly effective. I'd say polaron also makes that particular list, but I would stick with the first three if you're just starting out. And I mean, you're getting stuff like, and you're already getting disruptor, or phaser, or even plasma stuff. Right now, plasma seems to be king when it comes to some of the abilities on certain weapons, but I still think disruptor and phaser are extremely strong. They've been strong for quite a long time, and you can never go wrong with those. I've chosen disruptor in my case for this particular build set, but the reason why you're doing it is for a few different reasons. Number one, when you're unifying the type of weapon that you're using, whenever you use consoles or any other abilities that enhance that energy type, well, you're not just enhancing one of the weapons, you're actually enhancing all of the weapons. So let me show you what I mean. So here I have a bunch of different types of disruptors that you can see. All of them are from different locations, but they're all disruptors. And on the back, what you're going to see here is that I have some what we call vulnerability locators, which you can actually get from the Fleet Spire if you have a Tier 3. And on that Tier 3 Spire, you can get tactical vulnerability locators, which specialize in disruptor, phaser, all kinds of stuff. Now, if you're not sure which energy type you're gonna be, and you'd still like to get a really strong boost on all your damage for your weapons, you can also pick a vulnerability locator that's going to be like beam or cannon. But there's a slightly less DPS bump. You're going to see here that's nearly 40% when it's maxed. That is a lot of extra deeps. And so that's something that you really want to take a look at. But also the critical critical hit chance is also really good. But that's not why we're here. We're just trying to show you that when I increase the damage 40%, it's not just talking about one weapon. It's talking about every single weapon I have equipped that is going to do disruptor damage. And so that's why it's so important to unify a lot of your weapons, because it makes it so much easier to enhance their effectiveness, especially if your weapons are your primary mode of distributing damage. Now, later, if you're doing or if you're doing a totally different type of build, like maybe you're doing science, well, then locators probably aren't going to be for you. You're probably going to be focused on other types of consoles that enhance things like exotic particle damage or something like that. But if you're focused specifically on your weapon damage, then this is one great way to make sure unifying your energy type is one really good way to make sure that you're able to increase your damage output. Now you're going to notice that I do have the ultimate set on because I think that the effectiveness of the set bonuses for those is highly effective, but that's not what we're going to go over with today. I just wanted to show you that the energy types, and also there's another thing that I'd like you to know about ship weapons and energy type. So what you're going to notice is when I use these spiral wave disruptor dual beams, right? They actually have specific abilities. So if you look a little bit further down under the description, you're going to see that to target, there's a 2.5% chance one random subsystem offline for 5 seconds. And if that's the shield subsystem, oh my goodness, that's extremely effective for your enemy. You're going to totally dismantle their shields, and for 5 seconds, every bit of damage you send their way is going to go directly to their hull. That's going to be absolutely devastating, okay? And you get a 2.5% of that. So if that's such a good but then also, in addition, there's also a 2.5% chance that if this procs, you could also lower their damage resistance rating to all types of damage by 10, which is also really, really good. Now, you might be wondering, though, well, if that's so good, well, why aren't you doing all of them spiral wave disruptors, right? Well, that's because there's other types of disruptors that do other types of abilities which are also very effective. And yes, some of these stack, but sometimes you're not going to get it to proc all the time. So the more of the different varieties of the disruptor or the phaser or the polaron or the plasma that you have, the more of a chance that you're going to apply not just of one type of effect, but multiple effects over the course of damage, which is just going to be even more devastating to your targets. So take a look at that. And when you're looking at this one, you're going to notice you have a 4% chance to increase your critical severity buff to yourself by 10%, and that can stack up to 3 times. On top of that, you're going to get a 4%, or you're going to get a 2.5% chance that you get 50 plus armor penetration and 100% shield pen. That's ridiculous. So that's like taking out their shields again and just absolutely devastating their hull. And the added armor penetration is really going to hammer it down hard for them. So you see how there's like native abilities and things like that, but energy type really makes a difference, and then the different types of abilities. Here's some coalition disruptors. These have a 4 or not just the critical severity buff chance, but they also have the 2.5% chance that you can reduce your opponent's resistance against disruptors in this case by 20. Now, this one doesn't proc as much, but when it does, it's devastating. And if it stacks on top of all the other effects that you're putting on, do you see how that can really stack quickly? And it's going to do devastating amounts of damage, ultimately bringing up your DPS. So these are very, very effective tools to be using. So if you unify that, also try to take different types of disruptors and put them together, or different types of phasers or polarons or plasmas or whatever you're using. So try to do that so you can enhance your effectiveness, especially in PvE. This is very highly effective. In PvP, it's slightly less effective, but still devastating to think about. So definitely take a look at that. Also, you're going to notice that on this, there's several that I had to get from either purchase or by purchasing on the exchange, or I opened a lockbox and picked one up, or or over here, if you look at my Terran Task Force or my Disruptor Wide Angles, those come from actually my reputation. So by building certain things in my reputation, like for example, if I go and show you my Terran reputation, let's there it is, Terran Task Force. So if you go in here and then you scroll down, when you're rank 5 and 6, you can pretty much craft anything. But when you're rank 6, it gives you like a totally different type of energy type to use with it as well, plus a 2% bonus all damage, which is pretty spectacular. Little bonus right there. But here it is right here. So here's the phaser dual heavies, or you can have disruptor dual heavies, or you can do the beams right here, whether that be disruptor or phaser. And so this is where you can get them, and it's not going to cost you anything except resources. And so if you look over here, you can see like how much of each resource it's going to be, and I think that's going to help you start to target which pieces you have. So look through your reputations, see if there's some you know, reputations that have the energy type that you're working with, and start to work on those reputations so you can build them out and also upgrade them to increase your effectiveness. Also, bonus note is that when you put certain of these weapons together, they also give set bonuses, and we'll go over more of how to do that, or more in depth about those in future videos. Now, there may be something that I have missed as we've been talking about energy type. I know that there are certain types of torpedoes and stuff like that, that if you're using beams or cannons, that you can pair it with a torpedo that has the same type of energy type, and does that type of damage, which also can be enhanced with your locators and stuff. So keep that in mind as well. But they're very special torpedoes. Sometimes they're hard to find. And they were from events in the past, so sometimes you'll have access to them, sometimes you won't. Some of them you can get from opening Phoenix boxes. That's a whole nother discussion that we can have later. So if you think that I might have missed something that's important about energy type, please make sure to mention that in the comment section below. I really look forward to hearing about everything that y'all have to say on this. Let's discuss more about what you think the best types of energy weapons are, or energy types are. And I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to give us that Hail Bohse, press that subscribe button, and as always, boldly go.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you.